I'm Cedric Peterson, your Master of Ceremonies for this morning. On behalf of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, I welcome you to this opening of the new Government Administration Building, another milestone in the history of our country. So I welcome each and every one of you for being a part of this moment. To set the tone for today's program, I invite our first speaker to address you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Government Coordinator for the completion and movement to the new administration building. Please welcome Mr. Erno Labega.
This administration building has, I guess the concept and the idea has started probably longer than 15 years ago. However, about 12 to 15 years ago, action started. And then we started building the building, and there have been a host of people involved. I will not name them. I will not, because I don't remember half of them anyway. But it is not necessary to go through all the steps that we have gone through and the stumbling blocks that we have gone through. I would like to call two people in particular, Lois Brown of government and Yella Janssen, who were those who couldn't polish their shoes 12 years ago and on until we took it over. But those were people who were working without polished shoes to get this structure where it is. So that I would really like to recognize them, because that they were the heart of the operations then, and not putting anything against all of the ministries and commissioners at the time and all government and contractors and everyone that had to do with this building and getting it where it is today. And I kudos for them. Let's give them all a hand. It took a lot. And at about April, the Prime Minister has commissioned me to do what it takes to get this building finished and the government into the building. We teamed up. We have now the opening ceremony today, after a lot of stumbling blocks, of course, a lot of screaming from the Prime Minister, which I have to respect. But the point is, July 1st, as stated, didn't come. July 15th didn't arrive. But let's step back for 2 seconds and think of today, September 23rd, as July 1st, 2016. That's it. We're on our way. We have decided to move into the building in phases. Today is our first phase. Our first phase commences with the Council of Ministers, who have already, their offices have already been moved to the building. So they're ready to start to work the moment we cut that ribbon. The second part of the first phase is the Ministry of General Affairs. They will be moving in on the 4th floor, on the opposite side of the wing of the Council of Ministers. And then we're moving in the ground floor. There was a whole lot of reasons for this, a whole lot of logistics, but that's the first phase. Then we are going to go to the second and the third phase. We figured if we get the roof going and the foundation going, eventually we're going to get the second and third floor going. So, we've got to pass those two. So that's going to happen by the end of this month, middle of October. We should start moving in the rest of the Ministry of General Affairs on the 4th floor. We are going to have the Public Service Center established on the ground floor, where all the public will be met and greeted and attended to on the ground floor. We are going to have a slight culture change. We are not going to have the general public or everyone going to different offices, barging in and doing the things that we're accustomed to doing, because it is a lot more organized, and we're going to have you in the Public Service Center, similar to the way we have it in Simpson Bay. You can get into Simpson Bay, the Public Service Center, most times, get your work done that is offered there, and within 3 to 5 minutes, you're out. That is, one person actually told me, Erno, something is wrong here. There's no line of people here. I said, well, that was the whole idea when we set it up, that there will not be any lines. We have it timed. I had a timing tracking done. Within 2 minutes, on average, people are out of the Public Service Center in Simpson Bay with whatever they had to get done. We are striving for that here. It might be 4 or 5 minutes, but that's the strive. So that's where we're going for the understanding of the people that are here.
Just an explanation how SZV got involved in this project. I think I said it already, but I'll say it one more time because the audience is a tad bigger. In 2013, an amount of 115 million guilders was established that government owed the SZV. That's what was in our books. In 2014, we sat with government and we negotiated and we reached an amount of perhaps maybe not correct bookkeeping here and there, but we said, okay, 75 million is what the established amount was then. That was 2014, 2015. However, up to then, government could still not find a mechanism to be able to pay SZV. CFT established certain rules that could not allow government to take out loans or what have you, so we were stuck with that 75 million and we were not being able to reach an agreement. Now what would SZV normally do? SZV would normally go place attachments on accounts, place attachments on buildings, go over to putting something on auction, but I don't think we could do that with a government building or with government, because then it's game over for Country St. Martin. So in 2016, I had the honor to meet Minister Richard Gibson, and I think in his speech he will tell you how that went, but whew, that was one hell of excuse my French, up to yesterday I should say. But we were very creative and we were able to come with a solution on how to make it a win-win situation for Country St. Martin and for SZV. So instead of putting the building on auction or putting liens in accounts so that civil servants would not get paid, without CFT continue to put this under higher supervision, etc., we reached an agreement that SZV would take the building, call it purchase. But then we had a building that was standing here for 8 years. And when I walked in, I said, "You've got to be kidding." Everything was oxidized, elevators were not working, air conditioning had rat stuff, you can imagine what I mean. So we had to finish it off. If not, it was just an empty building that we just inherited from government and we could not make money out of it. So we started with government. There's only one thing that SZV said we're going to do, and it said, okay, we will do it, but SZV is going to be in the lead finishing this building. We wanted to make sure that the investment we put in was actually being able to be turned around and be able to charge rent. Because there's two things with the 30 years experience I have in St. Martin with governments, that there's two things they definitely pay, and salaries and rent. So we had to make sure that the building was in a position that we would be able to start collecting our rent, which we will do as of January 1st, here goes my speech, 2018. What is the last thing I say? Put it upside down. So that is why I'm standing here as a director of SZV. We're not in the real estate business per se, we're in the investment business. We have to make sure that the money that the taxpayers pay, that they get it back. We have to make sure that we invest it in things that we get a return on. And that is why we're proud to say that we have established the outstandings, we were established to be able to get our monies back, and we also established for Country St. Martin to have its own government building after so many, many years. Just one point of advice I'd like to for government, please continue with your plans in emptying the other buildings that you're out there renting to get as many people as you can in this building, and to also finish off Block D, that we have a one-stop shop for government. In closing, I would like to thank government, especially Minister of Finance, Mr. Gibson, Prime Minister, Minister Martin, for the experience I had here over the last couple of months. And now I would like to thank my SZV team. They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of media promotion about government and the government building and investments. There's a lot of pressure under us, but we continued because we think it's good for the country.
I say it's a glorious day.
Amen.
Not only because we're going to be occupying this building. In fact, the first speaker said that when we cut this ribbon the ministers will start to work. He got his facts wrong, because I started them since yesterday morning, and I'm behind my desk making calls and doing the things that has to be done. But it's a glorious day, as I said, not because we're moving into this building, but the result of what we have achieved here is one that has and will touch everybody. We pay 800,000 guilders a month rent by moving into this building. That amount, once it's all processed, we'll be saving approximately 350,000 to 400,000 guilders a month. We will no longer be spending, and I calculated it for the last 8 years, 70 million guilders in rent for 8 years, with virtually nothing in return and nothing to show for it. Now we'll be paying approximately 400,000 guilders a month rent. And as we pay that rent over X number of years, this building that we had to sell will be repurchased in that same 400,000 guilders a month that we're paying. Eventually, we get the ownership of the building back. Yes, indeed, Mr. Carty, you mentioned that had you not have the tolerance and the patience and the understanding, given the budgetary constraints that we had, that you could have placed a lien and made things extremely difficult for us. And that's an attitude that is displayed by many people. Being tolerant, being patient, understanding what the financial constraints are that we have, understanding, as you know, that when we came in, we met 180 million guilders in debts that we had to deal with. And if everybody had done what you mentioned, namely take the legal steps to collect and force us by liens and other ways to pay, that today we would not be standing here. And instead of that, you choose the route of negotiation. And yes, I know I probably pounded my hands a little too often on the desk and stamped my feet more than I would have liked to, in order to reach and achieve the goals that we are enjoying today, both SFV and government, as well as APS. But it served the purpose, that shouting, screaming, and stamping, and pounding the desk, as you well appreciate. We had a little disruption this morning. In my 40 years that I've been practicing law, I knew the routes, I knew the regulations, I knew the laws. In fact, I always told people, if people owe you money, come to me, I'll collect it for you. I didn't come to openings of buildings and stand up and pound and disrupt. No, I knew the law. And if I wanted to meet the Minister of Justice, what I would do, I wouldn't come to the opening ceremony to meet the Minister of Justice. I would call his office and make an appointment. I'll ask his secretary, please, I have something I'd like to discuss with the Minister of Justice, or the Prime Minister, or the Minister of Finance. But on this glorious day, that display is one I think we should not appreciate, given the fact that this building symbolizes a building that has caused us a lot of pain. Finally, we've cut through that, what I call Gordian knot, solved the problems, all of them associated with it, so we all can today cut a ribbon and walk through and says, we're starting a new approach. We've built the foundation. Let's build as opposed to destroy and spend without an end. This goal that we have achieved, we've achieved it by a lot of cooperation from a lot of people, and I want to especially mention the director from APS, Mr. Franklin Richards, as well as the director of SFV, Mr. Glenn Cardy. It was not only through brute force, mostly coming from my side, but also through an understanding that we're all in the same boat together. And we have to try and see how we can keep that boat afloat. And we have to see how we solve problems, not turn our backs on it like not balancing a budget, but balance it, take the blows, move forward, because only through that route could we look forward to better times ahead. And believe me, better times do lie ahead if we stay the course. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Those of you who have followed meetings of Parliament would often hear me refer to the building across the pond as the most expensive pigeon coop in the world. I've often referred to it as well as the white elephant with a green cap. Today, I'm happy and proud to be here together with you to celebrate the opening of this, our administration building. There are so many people who we should say thank you to, and I would still, while I would join in others by saying we can't start mentioning names, but I must still single out a couple of people who have worked diligently, have gotten sand and dirt between their toes, between their shoes, their slippers. Sometimes I saw them bare feet, to ensure that we would be here. It is about 5 months ago that right here, I think it was that loader, I climbed into it to symbolize the groundbreaking of what today is becoming our beautiful parking lot. Initially, that was not the intention. We would have nice greenery and benches in the front of the building. But because the parking will not yet be completed, we have decided to redo the design for here and turn the front of the building into more parking than green. But when the project kicked off 5 months ago, I kind of jokingly, but to put some pressure behind those who had to be here on a daily basis, I said that while everybody else is celebrating Emancipation Day, I would be emancipating myself from the old building. And if it is that I have to put my desk and furniture in my private Honda Pilot and come here and offload it, so I would. But of course, there are those who took it literally and tried when July 1st came to hold me sort of accountable for not moving out. I explained to them and explained to St. Martin that a commitment was made. A commitment was made to government. A commitment was made to the people of St. Martin. A commitment was made to the civil servants who needed a resting spot. Because we cannot have some of the departments in a house, in an old house on Back Street that is refurbished, in a building next to the bank, in a building across from Nagico, in a building upstairs, in a building downstairs. Government scattered all over Phillipsburg. We needed to put an end to that, and this is what this symbolizes. So when the deadline, quote-unquote deadline of July 1st was not met, and I sat with Erno and I said, when is it you think we can make the move? And then I was told, for sure, by August 1st. I said, let me see it first. Then they said, Prime Minister, I'll have you ready by August 15th. And then I told them, don't give me a date until I give you one. And so with the progress that was being made on a daily basis, in the afternoon, if I go anywhere for a meeting, I will drive in and sneak peek. And I felt just like I felt many years ago when my wife and I were building our home in South Reward. And every afternoon, you leave work, and I leave the school in Colby at that time, and I always had a habit of leaving late. And I would drive by in South Reward and look down in the dark to see the progress that was being made. And the security guards would tell you here that during the day, but sometimes also during the night, I would drive by just to see the progress that was taking place. We could not postpone the opening anymore. There are those who, of course, would want to go on Facebook to criticize the fact that we are moving in today and would want to call it a political decision. Yes, it is. Yes, it is a political decision. Because we've made a promise. We've made a promise to the people that during this governing period that lasted or will last for 9 months, and I keep repeating it every time, when I went home that night on December 14th, 2015, and told my wife Gabrielle that the governor signed a decree giving us until September 26th, 9 months. She said, my boy, what can you do in 9 months other than deliver a healthy baby? So you go and work and deliver healthy government and healthy products for the people of St. Martin. This is one of the several promises that we have made to the people of St. Martin, and in particular to the civil servants and the governments to come in the years to come. This afternoon at 4:30, we have been invited by the Minister, my colleague, Minister of Economic Affairs, to do the groundbreaking, and I don't know whether you're going to say the groundbreaking, maybe it should be the ground fixing of the Backstreet project. That too is a promise that was made. And recently we've taken note of bus drivers that said they have taken enough and they're not taking any more. Sounds like 1990 or 1979, and we agree. But we have had some delays. But finally, within this 9 months, that project also will start and will be delivered to the people of St. Martin. Because of my speech not getting further than in the pen, I can't do like Glenn and see where I was left. Where I left off, my paper did not fly away because I didn't have any as yet. But I started out a few moments ago to say there are some people who we must thank. And I must thank Glenn Carty. I must thank Glenn Carty for the assistance he has given to government in general. Glenn has been there. Whatever the problem that we encountered, he is one of my personal go-to guys ever since he was only at UTS. But even before that, when he was at Van Dorp only, I called him my partner in crime. Someone who tackles problems heads-on, looks for solutions, and ensures that the job gets done. I will tell you, not in public today, but one-on-one, I'll tell you in private, what he told me one day about his good buddy, Richard Gibson. When he came to my office, he was red like a lobster. And he almost pulled the strands from his head, those that were left. As you see, when guys with hair that way start to throw it on the side, is because it begins to recede and begin to form little spots in the center. He said, I can't take it anymore. I said, you know him. When you guys get together on Christmas Day celebrating family relations, you don't invite me. But nonetheless, Richard has been a tremendous asset. Facility management. Facility management is the responsibility of the Prime Minister. And whenever there are problems, if they're legal, sometimes also those pertaining to, while it's not my responsibility, but it was his, in the first startup of government, he was also Minister of Justice. And whenever we have legal issues, whenever we have justice issues, and for sure financial issues, I need to pull him in sometimes and tell him that's not the way it works in government. Private sector works this way, but not government. But we were able to bring the knowledge of government and the vast experience of the private sector and the legal background that he brought to this government, locked them up in a room. When I had to go to the meeting, he said, I know, Prime Minister, you are busy. So if you want me to take the lead on this, I will do so. He did battle with Glenn and Frankie. And at the end of the day, when he came out, we had nothing but white smoke, as they would say, with the appointment of a pope. So Richard, thank you, and thank you again. And also, the role that Frankie Richards, the director of APS, has played. He was lieutenant governor back then, when the white elephant with a green cap was built and was left unoccupied. And as director of the APS, he has made his contributions as well, because it is too complicated maybe now to go over again the solutions that were found to pay off the debt to SFV and the debt to APS. But soon we will have another groundbreaking just across from here, where a high-rise parking garage will be built by SFV as part of this by APS rather, as part of this win-win-win situation.